I'm seeing solid blue water boats with great equipment going for well under $90,000, and they're still sitting for months with no offers. That's a direct quote from a sailing forum user who's been watching the market unravel in real time. And they're not alone. Everywhere you look, sailors are trying to unload their boats and getting radio silence in return. What used to be a seller's dream is now a full-blown nightmare. Let's not beat around the bush. The sailboat market is dying. Prices aren't just slipping, they're crashing. And it's not because the boats suddenly got worse, it's because the entire system that held up the dream of ownership is collapsing under its own weight. We're talking marina fees through the roof, insurance companies walking away from anything older than a decade, and a buyer pool that's shrinking faster than a furling Genoa in a squall. Used to be, you listed a good cruising boat and had interest in a week. Now, months go by. No calls, no tours, just price drops and frustration. And the worst part? The sellers are all clinging to old prices, hoping someone will pay pandemic-era money for a boat that's worth half that now. Spoiler alert, they won't. In this video, we're diving deep into the mess. 10 brutally honest reasons the market is falling apart. From flooded listings and stubborn sellers to fire sales and repo boats hitting auction blocks, we're going to talk about the stuff no one at the yacht club wants to admit. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or even just holding on to a boat right now, you need to hear this, because the numbers don't lie. And if you're still chasing that boats always hold value myth, you're about to get a harsh wake-up call. Let's get into it. It's like a tidal wave hit the used sailboat market, except instead of water, it's boat listings. Everywhere you look, boats are up for sale. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Yacht World, Marina bulletin boards, flooded. You'd think it was a buyer's paradise, but here's the twist: no one's buying. What we're seeing right now is a saturation event. All those folks who rushed into boat ownership during the pandemic, they're done. The dream wore off, the bills rolled in, and now they're bailing out. Problem is, they're all trying to do it at once. You've got too many boats and not enough hands reaching out to take them. I'm talking about quality boats too, not just beat-up projects and sun-bleached hulls. Decent cruisers, well-equipped, some with brand-new sails and gear, all sitting with zero bites. They're priced at a fraction of what they would have sold for 3 years ago, and still, nothing. It's a standoff. Sellers want yesterday's prices, buyers want tomorrow's deals, and between them sits a dock full of unsold fiberglass. Every day those boats sit, they're costing their owners money. Slip fees, insurance, upkeep, and the longer they go unused, the more they fall into disrepair, pushing prices down even further. And it's not just individual sellers feeling the pinch. Brokers are carrying more listings than ever, and many are just gathering dust. Even the ones that look great on paper don't move because the demand just isn't there like it used to be. Between inflation, rising living costs, and boating's already high barrier to entry, people are simply stepping back. So yeah, everyone's selling, everyone wants out, but with fewer buyers and tougher economics, we're seeing a boat market stuck in gridlock. If you're trying to list now, you're just another voice in a sea of desperation. And if you're hoping for a quick sale, you'd better get ready to wait or drop your price hard. There was a time when a well-priced boat with decent gear and clean lines would get interest within a week, sometimes within hours, but not in 2025. Today, you can price it low, throw in the dinghy, and offer to deliver it, and still, nobody shows up. So why aren't boats selling anymore, even when they're a so-called deal? Simple, because people have caught on to what owning a boat really costs, and they're being a hell of a lot more cautious. Boats have never been cheap, but today's economic climate has made them feel downright reckless. Between marina fees, insurance hikes, outrageous yard costs, and the ever-present maintenance nightmare, people are realizing that cheap to buy doesn't mean cheap to own. A great deal on paper quickly becomes a monthly financial anchor in the real world. Even boats listed at a serious discount, like under market value, aren't moving. Buyers are skittish. They see a low price and assume it's a trap. They've read the horror stories. They've watched people buy into a bargain and spend more fixing it than they did to buy it. And with the economy tight, nobody's rushing into a money pit just to say they own a boat. The other issue? Inventory. There's just too much of it. The same model boat might be listed 6 times in the same region. Buyers don't feel pressure. They feel overwhelmed. So they sit back, watch prices fall, and wait for the seller to blink. And most do. It's not about greed. It's about fear. Buyers fear they'll be stuck with something they can't afford. Sellers fear they'll never offload their boat without taking a huge loss. So nothing moves, just endless scrolling Endless price drops and endless frustration on both sides. That's the state of things, and it's why even a good deal can't get a second look these days. Owning a boat has always been a financial tightrope walk. But in 2025, it's more like walking a plank. For a growing number of owners, boats have become the worst kind of burden. Too expensive to keep, too cheap to sell. Let's break down the math. Say you've got a nice 38-foot cruiser. Maybe you bought it for 90 grand during the boom. Now, it's worth 50 on a good day, if you can find a buyer. Meanwhile, your slip fees are $400 a month. Insurance is climbing. The last haul out ran you 3 grand. And the engine's overdue for a full service. Every month you hold on to that boat, it bleeds money, and every month the market gets worse. You could lower the price, but then what? Sell it for 40 and lose 50 grand after all the work you put in? That's hard to swallow, but keeping it feels like burning cash in a fiberglass fireplace. That's the trap a lot of boat owners are stuck in right now. They can't sell without taking a huge loss, but they can't keep going with the costs either. And when you factor in that buyers are lowballing left and right, if they show up at all, you're left with the worst kind of asset, one that's worth less every day but still costs more to maintain. This new math of ownership is why so many good boats are just sitting. The owners can't use them, can't sell them, and can't justify the bills anymore. But walking away isn't easy either, especially if there's a loan involved. So what's the answer? For some, it's renting out the slip, going dry dock, or even donating the boat just to stop the bleeding. But for most, it's denial. They list high, wait, and hope for a miracle buyer. And while they wait, the boat just gets older, the bills get bigger, and the math gets uglier. It's not just private sellers taking the hit. Dealers and brokers are feeling the squeeze like never before. For years, they rode the wave of the COVID boat buying boom. Boats sold themselves. Inventory flew out the door, and commissions stacked up like fenders at a crowded marina. But now, it's a very different scene. The phones are quieter. Listings sit longer, deals fall apart over survey results or financing, and more often than not, the buyer just ghosts. It's brutal out there. Some brokers are carrying more listings than they ever have, but those listings aren't moving. They're stuck in limbo. Boats priced too high for this cooled-off market, with sellers still clinging to 2020 prices. And the worst part? Every listing costs time. Photos, write-ups, walkthroughs, emails, it's all work. Brokers are investing hours into boats that aren't generating interest, let alone offers. Even when they do find a buyer, the deals are fragile. Surveys scare folks off. Financing falls through. Buyers disappear. Or worse, they offer half the asking price, expecting desperation. Meanwhile, dealers with new boats are dealing with a whole different nightmare: bloated pricing and vanishing demand. The cost of new builds has skyrocketed, some by over 50% since 2019. That puts even modest models out of reach for the average buyer, so they sit in showrooms, on hard stands, or worse, on the books as unsold inventory. It's not just a tough market, it's a confidence crisis. The big money buyers are distracted, the mid-range buyers are cautious, and the entry-level crowd, they've tapped out completely. So yeah, brokers and dealers are hurting. The same industry that boomed is now bloated. Too much stock, too few buyers, and way too many people pretending it's still 2021. It's not, and until prices come down or the economy picks up, this pain is only going to get worse. One of the biggest reasons boats aren't selling right now? The sellers. More specifically, the overconfident ones who still think their boat is worth what it was during the peak of the pandemic. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's hard to blame them. If you bought a boat in 2021 and saw prices jump overnight, you probably assumed it would hold or even appreciate. But boats aren't houses. They don't gain value. They age, they wear, and they break. And in a flooded market, nobody's overpaying for your memories. But that hasn't stopped some sellers from listing high and staying high. You'll see a 30-year-old cruiser listed for top dollar because she's a classic, or has new standing rigging, or is offshore ready. That may be true, but the buyers don't care. They've got options. Lots of them, and they're not in a rush. Overpriced listings don't just sit, they sour. A boat that's been on the market for 6 months without movement starts to look suspicious. Buyers assume there's a hidden problem, or that the seller's going to be difficult. Even good boats get passed over because they've been floating on the listings too long. Some sellers get defensive, refusing to negotiate. Others keep adding gear and think it increases value. Newsflash: your new radar or solar arch isn't worth what you paid. In fact, it might scare off a buyer who sees more systems to fix. At the end of the day, the market decides what your boat is worth, not your feelings, your spreadsheet, or what you owe on it. The smart sellers are adjusting. The stubborn ones, they're watching their boats age out of the market entirely. Confidence is good, but stubborn pride, that'll sink your sale faster than a busted through haul. Buyers hold all the power right now, and they know it. But instead of pouncing on listings, they're sitting back and watching prices drop. It's not laziness, it's strategy. And it's absolutely wrecking the used boat market. Here's what's happening. Would-be buyers are watching the same boat get relisted every few weeks. Price gets shaved down, maybe $5,000 here, another 3 there. After a couple months, the boat's dropped 10 or 15%. So the buyer waits longer, thinking, if it's still there next month, I'll offer even less. This game of chicken creates a downward spiral. Sellers get nervous, slash prices more aggressively, and eventually accept offers they never would have entertained 6 months earlier. Meanwhile, other sellers see what's happening and panic list their own boats at rock-bottom prices just to stay competitive. It's a race to the bottom, and buyers are driving it. There's also a massive trust issue. Buyers aren't just watching prices, they're watching the economy, the cost of ownership, and the horror stories online. They're nervous about buying into a financial sinkhole. Even with financing available, fewer people are willing to jump into a big boat commitment when inflation's high and everything else in life feels unstable. And let's be real, there's no urgency. The market is so saturated right now that buyers can take their time. They don't have to rush. If they miss one deal, 10 more will pop up next week. That kind of freedom kills seller leverage. So yeah, the buyers are out there, but they're not biting. Not until the price is brutally low, the survey checks out, and the deal feels completely lopsided in their favor. Until then, they're waiting. And the longer they wait, the worse the market gets for everyone else. It's one thing to afford a boat, it's another thing to afford keeping it. That's where most people get wrecked. And in 2025, marina fees and insurance costs have officially crossed the line from annoying to downright unsustainable. Let's start with marinas. In a lot of places, finding a slip is like finding a unicorn. And if you do get one, prepare to pay. We're talking $400, $500, even $600 a month for a standard 30-footer, and that's not including live-aboard fees, electricity, or storage. Waterfront real estate has exploded, and marinas are cashing in. The affordable boating dream dies the moment you try to tie up in a city harbor, but the real backbreaker? Insurance. Rates have gone through the roof. Companies are pulling out of coastal regions, dropping older boats from coverage, and tightening requirements so much that even seasoned sailors are getting denied. And when you do find a policy, it might cost more annually than you spend on maintenance. For buyers, this is a deal breaker. It's no longer just about the price of the boat. It's about the endless stream of monthly costs. Even if a boat's listed cheap, the marina and insurance fees alone can make it feel like a financial trap. That's scaring off a lot of would-be owners, and for sellers, it's just insult to injury. You finally get someone interested, and then they run the numbers on dockage and coverage and walk away. Or worse, they offer half your asking price, claiming they need the savings to pay the marina. This isn't just a temporary dip. These costs are long-term, structural issues. As long as marinas and insurers keep raising the bar, demand's going to stay low, and the used boat market's going to stay stuck. When boats start showing up at auctions in big numbers, it's never a good sign for the market. And right now, they're coming in waves, abandoned at marinas, repossessed by lenders, dumped by owners who finally hit the wall. It's not a trickle. It's a trend. All over the country, you'll find sailboats and cruisers listed in online auctions, sometimes starting at just a few $100. Some of them are total wrecks, others surprisingly solid. These aren't all junkyard specials. They're real boats from real people who couldn't keep up with the bills. The reasons are familiar. The boat needs work, the marina raised rates, the salty owner got injured, or just ran out of money. Whatever the cause, the result is the same. They walk away, and the boat goes up for auction. Sometimes lenders dump them. Sometimes marinas just want to clear space. And when they do, the boats go cheap. The ripple effect is brutal. Every time a boat sells at auction for a quarter of its value, it drags down the perceived value of every similar boat on the market. Buyers see it and think, why would I pay $50,000 for a cruiser when I can win one for $10,000 next week? And they're not wrong. This puts private sellers in a bind. Even if their boat is turnkey and well cared for, they're now competing with desperation sales. You can't argue with auction prices, and you can't stop buyers from chasing those deals. It resets expectations across the board. More auctions, more repos, more fire sales, it all means the floor is falling out of the market. And while some savvy buyers might scoop up bargains, for everyone trying to sell, it's a nightmare. Welcome to the liquidation phase of the crash. There was a time when a solid older sailboat, say something from the late 70s or early 80s, was considered a smart buy. Tough fiberglass hull, proven design, great bones. But now, you'd be lucky to get a serious offer. Older boats have become the used market's dead weight. Why? Because nobody wants to take on the maintenance nightmare. It's not just about cosmetic wear, it's about systems. Old rigging, outdated wiring, mystery plumbing, corroded fittings, questionable keel bolts, long-expired electronics. You're not buying a boat, you're buying a to-do list with no end. And then there's the insurance wall. Many providers won't touch boats over 30 years old without a full out-of-water survey and a punch list of upgrades. Even then, they'll charge premiums so high it feels like punishment. That alone is enough to kill a lot of deals. Younger buyers? They're not interested in fixer-uppers. They want turnkey, low maintenance, and ideally something that doesn't smell like diesel and mildew. And older owners? They're trying to offload boats they've had for decades, hoping someone else will fall in love with them. But the sad truth is that love just isn't there anymore. Even when older boats are priced low, like dirt cheap, they still don't move. Buyers assume there's a hidden nightmare waiting to be discovered, and a lot of the time, they're right. The cost to refit an old boat today can easily exceed the boat's value, and with parts and labor more expensive than ever, most people won't risk it. So what happens? The boats sit. They collect algae, leaves, and unpaid Marina bills. Eventually, they go to auction or get scrapped. And just like that, another classic disappears. Not because it wasn't seaworthy, but because the market gave up on it. Older boats used to be the backbone of the budget cruising world. Now, they're ghosts. Too old to sell, too expensive to fix, and slowly fading away. If you own a boat right now, especially one you don't use often, you're probably staring at the market wondering, do I get out now or ride this thing all the way down? And the hard truth? There's no easy answer. But if you don't face it head-on, the market's going to make the choice for you. Let's look at your options. Selling now might mean taking a hit, maybe even a big one. Boats that sold for 90 grand during the pandemic are going for 50. Some even less. The buyers have vanished, and the few who are out there are offering insulting numbers, and they're not bluffing. They've got the leverage, and they know it. If you want to sell, you'll need to swallow your pride and drop your expectations. That's just where the market is right now. But here's the flip side. Holding on isn't free. Every month, you're paying for that slip, that insurance premium, that maintenance, that engine that hasn't run in 8 months, that Dodger that's falling apart, that haul-out you've been putting off. Add it all up and the boat's still costing you, even if it never leaves the dock. So ask yourself, how often do you use it? Is it giving you joy or just guilt? If it's the latter, you might already have your answer. And if it's an older boat, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to sell, because demand for aging hulls is circling the drain. Now, if you do still love sailing, there's another path. Commit to keeping it. Fully embrace the idea that this boat isn't an investment. It's a tool for adventure. Sail it, maintain it, and forget the resale value. It's not about making money, it's about making memories. But if you're going to do that, do it. Don't just let it sit there eating up your cash while you dream about someday. And if you're on the fence, here's a brutal but honest option. Sail it till it sinks. Not literally, of course, but emotionally. Get every last drop of use out of it, then strip the gear, sell what you can, and walk away without regrets. Sometimes that's the cleanest way to end the story. Because the truth is, this market isn't bouncing back anytime soon. Inflation's still hitting hard, marina space is tight, insurance is brutal, and the wave of sellers isn't slowing down. So you've got to decide, take the hit now, or keep paying into a dream that might not be giving you much back. There's no shame in letting go, and there's no shame in holding on if you're actually sailing. But whatever you choose, don't stand still. Boats hate being ignored, and so does your bank account. So, sell now or sail it till it sinks. Either way, make peace with the choice. Because in 2025, waiting it out might be the worst decision of all. So there you have it. 10 brutal truths about the sailboat market right now. If you're trying to sell, you already know how hard it is. If you're thinking about buying, you've probably got a dozen listings saved and no rush to act. And if you're holding on to a boat you barely use, well, you're in the thick of it. This crash isn't just about money, it's about what boating means in a world where everything costs more and time feels tighter. The dream is still alive, sure, but it's changed. It's leaner, simpler, smarter. The folks still smiling at sea are the ones who've adapted, downsized, or finally made peace with the fact that a boat isn't an investment. It's a lifestyle. So, whether you decide to sell, hold, or go full send and sail her till she dies, just do it with clear eyes and no regrets. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Drop your own story in the comments. What's your boat situation? Are you stuck? Downsizing? Still loving it? Let's keep this conversation real. Until next time, stay salty, stay smart, and I'll see you out there. Cheers.